Hello, audience. My name is Dalton Mortimer, and I am the Authenticator. I hope you all had an excellent holiday, be it Christmas or one of its many adjoining or substitutory festivals. And more importantly to the channel, I hope you all enjoyed my Christmas special, which is still up on the channel. Shameless shill over. And I will be separating it into its various parts probably before New Year's if I get around to it. You'll probably know by the time this goes up. Anyway, as is customary in the YouTube circles, it's the end of the year, so I thought we would have a look back at 2018, or a look forward to the shadow of things to come with 2019. And that being the case, I figured I'd give you all a peek behind the curtain, as it were, as we look at a year in review and the shadow of things to come. First things first, we have to address the semi-domesticated prehistoric mastodon in the room. Namely, that at least from a professional perspective, I can't very well call this a year in review because, well, bollocks. Bollocks on top of bollocks on top of bollocks, basically. Because for most of this year, I was laid up with severe sleep deprivation of one kind or another from about the end of May through mid-October. And so my output has been bollocks up until October when I released the first A Mystics vlogs. Funny that, but that's how this year went for me. Spontaneously in May, my sleep schedule started shifting, and I was pretty solidly and consistently sleep deprived of one kind of another for months. So, bollocks to most of 2018. But, in the time that I have been active, we've gained roughly 60 subscribers. Yay, get these streamers the confetti and the noisemakers. I've released roughly 12 videos since that stint was over, not counting my two Storm Before the Cloud rants that occurred long before any of the other ones. And I've began to have something resembling a consistent upload schedule, like an actual fucking YouTuber, or something. Who knew? And while I certainly have my issues with how things have gone, I wouldn't be much of an authenticator if I wasn't honest about that. For the most part, I'm okay. True, we haven't had any massive viral spikes in subscribers or anything, but that's something hopefully 2019 will grant us. And true, for the most part, my views have oscillated between roughly 30 per video down to about 7 per video, which is not the greatest thing in the history of ever, but given that I only have 60 subscribers and I upload maybe twice a week if I'm lucky and the inspiration strikes me, I'd say all things considered I'm okay with that. Though a lot of things just simply have to be placed at the feet of myself and only myself. Namely, there are a lot of shows that I have started covering but have not finished covering because it's a hell of a workload, even though Mystics vlogs are generally much, much easier than other kinds of content to do because it's much easier for me to go off extemporaneously when A, I have some content that's pre-established to work off of, and B, because magic is virtually second nature to me at this point. Well, that's what 12 years gets you, I guess, among other things, but regardless. But yes, hopefully in the coming year I will probably get around, finally, to covering Castlevania Season 2. Mostly what happened was I wanted to be able to get the magical ins and outs of Dracula's castle teleportation working right, and it took for fucking ever. Short version. Long version is it's a Netflix show, so weekly content takes precedence. I.e., when doing weekly episode reviews of shows, you have a very limited range of window by which to make it interesting to an audience. So anything that's on a weekly rotation is probably going to take precedence, and also has a far more direct release schedule, so people want your release schedule to mirror the show's release schedule. And yes, 2019 will probably involve me getting back to at least the second half of season 4 of Legends of Tomorrow. As to whether Legends will remain in rotation really depends on Legends and to what degree Magic remains a constant fixture in the show. Because as I've said on many occasions, the point of a Mystics Vlogs is precisely that, a Mystics Vlogs. Therefore, if there is no magical element at play, bollocks to whatever show. I don't care if it's one I've covered before, if magic does not play a pivotal role in the episode in question, then bollocks to it. Which means that seasons that feature magic heavily will get featured, seasons that cease to, in the future, feature magic heavily will no longer be featured. Sorry, but that was the breaks. I've given the example before of if I was to cover Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., my focus would be mainly on the season, or rather the season arc, since there's like 3 of them, that features Ghost Rider of the Darkhold as a main player. And thereafter I would not cover Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. again, until more magic is involved. Tough rule, but them's the breaks. In addition to that, there will be plenty of new material for me to vlog about Mystically. Especially since The Magicians comes out in January, which means I have 3 seasons of The Magicians to retrospective about, much in the same way as I did for Castlevania Season 1, because I'm just, the prospect of going through 3 seasons of a show before the next season comes out and not being current, just, no. Just, no. I'm doing a retrospective. It'll be awesome because The Magicians is probably the most mystically accurate thing on TV right now, and it kicks all kinds of ass, and hopefully my show will as well. Huzzah. In addition to that, do be on the lookout in the coming weeks for my attempt to tangle with a couple larger YouTubers, because Wisecrack decided that they were going to avail themselves of my wheelhouse. Thereby, they open themselves up to criticism from me. Because if you're going to talk about magic via the means of Grant Morrison and Alan Moore, I don't actually have to stick to the parameters of Grant Morrison and Alan Moore to correct you. Because I possess the capability of saying, fuck off, you're both wrong, and you're both philosophically and mystically inept to an nth degree. So, 2 videos responding to Wisecrack's respective 2 videos on Grant Morrison and Alan Moore's magical exploits, which I'm thinking of tentatively calling a word to the Wisecrack, because pun. Also, there will be more shows in the offing this time around next year, because in my quest for a semi-weekly upload schedule and a stable variety of content, I let the Storm Before the Comrades kind of slip. I intend to remedy this with some videos on the men's rights movement, or rather a video on the men's rights movement and several other philosophical issues of the day. Storm Before the Comrades are going to be kind of broader in nature. Mystics Vlogs are going to be, again, Mystics Vlogs. And I have a new show in the offing, which is going to be called Interrupted Between the Reels, where I experiment with new varieties of content, or standalones, or one-offs, as it were. The point of the title is, standardized chaos, because it appeals to old Hollywood rules of changing the reels in between frames, so it's an abeyance of standard rules and practices, thereby allowing freedom for new stuff. Huzzah. Because I may be an agent of order, but in any profitable, orderly system, there has to be at least some allowance made for entropy. And there's no reason to say it shouldn't be an orderly one. So haha, hack the system. All plans for other shows and getting back to basics, as it were, aside for the moment though, A Mystics Vlogs are probably going to still be my main, but not necessarily preferred variety of content. I've always looked at A Mystics Vlogs kind of like grunt work, or sort of the basic bitch, me on autopilot kind of stuff, whereas Storm Before the Comrades, while informal, still take more work, and interrupted between the reels is new stuff. And depending on the kinds of experimentation that are successful on Interrupted Between the Reels, things can morph into their own series. So when next we do this, it may very well be that I have 5 or 10 other varieties of show on here. Not saying I'm promising that, but I could totally foresee a circumstance where that happened. And there will also be slight changes with the established things as well. I'll get into those post-haste. Primary changes are going to be, for starters, that I promised that once A Mystics Vlogs was established and I felt it was a thing I could consistently do on a regular basis and that people were enjoying and knew me for, that I would go back into older shows and do retrospectives and standalone coverage of movies and shows that aren't currently on TV. And I've done 12 at this point, A Mystics Vlogs, or 15 if you count each part of the Christmas special as an individual episode. And so now new changes need to be made. Huzzah, expensive. I'm also going to be introducing top 10 lists for shows that are just too large or too vast to even cover in a retrospective, looking at You, Supernatural, and Charmed. Original Charmed. I'm not touching the new one. Fuck and no, please. If all goes to plan, I'll also be covering The Librarians and the BBC miniseries adaptation of the book Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which both are excellent if you haven't read them or seen them. And so that will be interesting, to say the least. And also, I will be expanding in a majority of other ways with Interrupted Between the Reels, hopefully. So who knows where we'll be when we next do this. The last major change has to do more with the technical ins and outs of the channel, in that I would like to move up from 1 to 2 videos per week to 2 to 3 videos per week. It's a more stable schedule that way, and it's better for providing content. And yes, I know that in addition to Castlevania, I also have Sabrina's proverbial witch trial to continue, so I'll be doing that. And yes, a witch trial conducted by a witch. Haha, very funny. Everyone chuckle and laugh. Laugh, damn you. Laugh, I say. And with that, that brings us to the end of the retrospecting and the concrete plans for the year to come. So, without further ado, I guess the only thing left to say is my hopes and wildest ambitions for the coming year. I'd like to knock on proverbial wood and say I'd like 1,000 subscribers by this time next year. It's quite a feat to ask, but it can be done. I mean, if Six Hexenhammer can get 300,000 subscribers talking about politics, philosophy, and magic, then goddamn it, so can I. And if every fucking plastic nerd channel can get hundreds of thousands just covering nerd shit, then covering nerd shit with a magical bench should by rights at least be a sizable proportion of both of those. Fuck off. And we all know you can make it to the 10 to 20k range just by talking about social justice bollocks and being against it in geek shit, so it can be done. I want to see it be done. 1,000 is a good place to start, I think. And if we can make it there, more importantly, we'll have live streaming privileges, which I will then use to have at least 2 streams a week. Two to 3 if I'm lucky, depending upon how much it impacts my actual work schedule. And that's that done and dusted. So before I go, there's only one thing left to do, and that is thank you, my audience. See, as much as Patreon likes to sell us on the continuation of the whole lordly class, financing artists thing they do, hence why they're called Patreon, we YouTubers, we're really the digital equivalent of street performers. We're screevers, to make a Mary Poppins reference. And by that logic, I guess I'm the equivalent of a sideshow attraction, or a street magician of the John Constantine or trickster card player variety, not the illusionist. And if you put me anywhere near Chris Angel in the same sentence, I'm going to shiv your ass. Fuck and no. But being as I'm basically a digital screever or a symposiac who's analogous to a John Constantine or a Dr. Facilier with hopefully a little bit more scholarly backing, I'm well aware I'm probably not going to be anyone's favorite YouTuber anytime soon. But you all stuck with me, and for that I am truly grateful. I know this is a weird little sideshow I've got going, but some of you found it worthwhile, so I have to at least try to give back your bang for your proverbial buck, as it were. And I know even taking the professional element out of it, I'm kind of a detestable fuckwit. Let's face it, I have very few distinctive or memorable qualities. I'm basically the cosmic straight man. But some of you found it worthwhile, so for that I thank you. I hope for all our sakes the coming year is both very productive and magical. And I hope all of you have a year that's just as productive and magical. And as I've said many times before, now I will say my goodbyes and say, cheers everyone, I'll see you all next time. I'm Dalton Mortimer, I'm the Authenticator, and here's to another go-round. May 2019 be better than 2018, and may it treat you excellently.